Laughter, they say, is the best medicine. But when doctors found a 10-centimeter tumor in my chest, ain't nobody prescribed me Carrot Top. However, as I sat in my bed recovering from chemo, I grew my own set of 8-minute abs watching the comedy stylings of Frasier, Cheers, and hilarious Hulu commercials. That led me to web videos that cracked me up. FiberFix, Chatbooks, and others featured products that made me laugh so hard, I pulled out my wallet like Jay-Z at a rap concert. Can laughter, therefore, increase commerce for you as it did for these major brands? We're going to be talking about that today with our guest, the CEO of the Harmon Brothers, Benton Crane, at the Video Marketing School. Stay tuned. Welcome, everybody. I'm Owen Video of the Video Marketing School, where business owners like you learn the art and science of online video marketing. Hey, I'm pumped to be here with you guys today. I'm wearing a brand new shirt. I am. This is brand new. My beard's a little curlier. It's almost dastardly, if you can see. It curls up on the end like the bad guy from Passamaquoddy. Do you remember that? Who knows? Melissa's laughing over here. Who knows what Passamaquoddy is from? Let me know in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys on that. Some trivia in the morning. Oh my gosh, look, I just got back from vacation last night, and as such, some of my tech is malfunctioning right in front of me, folks, which is exactly the impression we wanted to make on our guest today. We're super glad that you're here. Today, we're going to be talking about comedy writing and how to implement comedy writing into your videos. Our guest today is CEO of the Harmon Brothers, Benton Crane. And not only is this guy funny, he's also funny looking. It's true. No, it is. It's something that we learned, we discovered this morning. Would like to introduce you guys to our guest right now. Benton, are you with us today?
I'm here. Happy to be here. It's a pleasure.
I'm really glad that you had time to make it, especially because it's just a folly studio back here. All sorts of crazy stuff is happening. We've got people knocking on our doors. This is amazing. Talk to us a little bit about your background, the Harmon Brothers, and what it is that you do.
Certainly. So we're the agency that brought you videos like Squatty Potty, Poopery, Chatbooks, FiberFix, Purple Mattress, Lumi Deodorant, and several others. I think cumulatively they're up to something like 1.3 billion views, somewhere in that neighborhood.
Wow.
Somewhere around $350 million in trackable sales on all these ads. So that's who we are, and that's what we do, and I'm excited to be here today and get to talk a little bit about it.
Now, I just, I've been following the Harmon Brothers for quite some time. I met Jeffrey, 4 or 5 years ago, I think, at Vid Summit 1, and I had known him from some other work that he had done in marketing. I met Daniel at VidCon a few years ago. So the Harmon Brothers, how many of you watching, by the way, on YouTube or Facebook Live? And I can see that we've got Dennis is out there, Josh Melton, my man Paul Peck, Dan Norton logging in from the Disney studios. Am I allowed to say that? I'm going to get sued. I know it. We got to watch out. El Economista YouTuber logging in from South America. So glad you're here. How many of you guys are familiar with the work of the Harmon Brothers? Let me know in the comments section now. Okay, I've known the Harmon Brothers for quite some time, being involved in online video since before YouTube was a thing, and they've always been writing comedy videos. But Benton, you're like a financial manager, right? Like you sent out a very interesting email a couple days ago. Talk to us a little bit about how you got involved with the Harmon Brothers, who are actually your cousins.
That's correct. Yeah, so honestly, it's kind of ironic that I'm here today talking about humor because I'm kind of the boring man of the group. I started my career as a statistician and econometrician out in Washington, D.C., and I worked both at the Census Bureau and then later at kind of a bunch of different intel agencies. And so I am kind of the numbers guy, the spreadsheet guy, the boring guy of the group. But when the brothers, Jeff and Neil and Daniel, they left Orabrush to go do the Poopery campaign, they needed an analytics guy to take care of all of the ad buying, all of the optimization, A/B testing, all of that sort of thing. And so that's when I joined the team. That was 2013 with Poopery. And then it all evolved. Jeff and Neil went and founded VidAngel, and Daniel and I stayed focused on building Harmon Brothers as an agency, and here we are today.
That's great. And VidAngel, sort of an ancillary company. VidAngel it's an online video watching service, but it's designed to like cut out all the bad words and sort of like the naked stuff, right? That sort of led into Dry Bar Comedy, which is a clean comedy scenario where you can watch comedy that's family friendly. So the Harmon Brothers brand is really integrated into the comedy world. But you're also really strong business people, having grown, millions of dollars in revenues for some of these at the time unknown brands. In fact, for those of you watching on Facebook or YouTube right now, what is the Harmon Brothers video that first caught your attention? Was it Chat Books? Was it Poopery? Was it Squatty Potty? I know that one. That one was huge. Our good friend Molly Mahoney is logging in. She's joining us from VidCon right now. And she is saying, so many people have messaged me about that dang deodorant, which is another.
That's the Lumi deodorant.
Yes, the Lumi deodorant, which I can tell you is in our medicine cabinet right now. But my wife is in the back. She's going, I love it. You guys can't hear her on the microphone. I love it too, sweetie. Look, these guys write phenomenal comedy, and I've always sort of known that. Like, believe it or not, for all of you guys watching, I started in sketch comedy myself back in theater in college. Like, my goal was to be on Saturday Night Live. Believe it or not, one of my ex-girlfriends actually made it onto Saturday Night Live, and she's now in the Aladdin movie. I never made it that far. In fact, real life set in, and I had to get a job. And when we talk about our jobs and our businesses, Benton, we're talking about serious. Like, this is serious. There's no room for laughter, right? We've got goals and objectives and numbers and stats and analytics. And then you bring in comedy, right? Why should the two be mixed? Why would a serious business owner want to make funny videos, right? Isn't that sort of like a juxtaposition?
Yeah, that's a great question. In some ways, as a marketer, I go watch the Super Bowl, and the commercials are more entertainment than the game, right?
Yeah.
That's the funnest part of the Super Bowl. But the companies who are advertising in the Super Bowl, they are huge brands. Think of Budweiser, Apple, Nike, all of these massive brands who can afford to be advertising in the Super Bowl. And their job there is to entertain us, to engage us, so that we remember. And so when we're making a buying decision, we remember those feelings of humor, of laughter.
Yeah.
And it helps influence what we buy. But for everyone else who is just running a tiny little startup, who is trying to get their name out there, they don't have the same budgets. They don't have the same luxury as a Nike or an Apple or a Coca-Cola or someone like that. They have to get sales immediately, right? Or else they go out of business. They have to keep the lights on, food on the table. And so those sales have to be coming in all the time. And so usually these new startups are kind of faced with the reality that branding and Super Bowl type commercials just are out of their reach.
Right.
They're too expensive, and they don't work to get those immediate sales. It's more of a long-term play. And so instead, they end up having to use more like direct response style advertising, which think traditionally direct response advertising is infomercials.
Right.
Very salesy, very in your face.
To the point.
Call now. Yep. Very to the point. And many people would even argue that like infomercials tend to be pretty yucky, right? It's not good for your long-term brand. But because of the realities of being a startup, you have to get those sales, and so you have to adopt that that type of marketing? Well, we believe that if you bring humor into direct response marketing, then you can actually create direct response marketing that's very effective. It gets those sales, it gets that direct ROI, but you can also make it something that people want to consume. People are excited to consume it. People share it. People engage with it.
Right.
And that's why we believe humor is so important and such a core piece of marketing and advertising, because it allows the little guys who need the sales to get them, but to still build a brand and engage with their customers on a humorous level.
Yeah. I think that's a big piece there is the engagement part, the memorable part. I'd love to hear from you watching us on Facebook or YouTube. Is comedy writing a challenge for you, or do you feel like you're naturally funny? I'd love to hear from you guys in the comment section right now, because I think that a lot of people look at comedy writing as something that only the big brands can do, right? Because you've got to hire the people that sort of are funny, that know what they're doing, and that sort of thing. Benton Crane, CEO of the Harmon brothers, is comedy writing a gift like good looks, or can anyone learn how to write comedy?
So I definitely wouldn't say it's a gift. It is a skill that takes a lot of time and effort to develop. And so we always say it's much easier to teach a comedian to be a marketer than it is to teach a marketer to be a comedian. Now, that shouldn't depress the marketers out there, right? Because marketers don't have to become funny. Look at me, right? You can be a marketer and go team up with funny people, bring the comedians into your world, get their talent to help you accomplish your goals, and you can be massively successful even if you're not personally funny.
Great. That's a big point. Now, I'd love to talk more about the formula. I'd love to talk about the structure of being funny. And for those of you that have any questions for Benton Crane, CEO of the Harmon brothers, ask us in the comment section. We will do our best to get to your questions. And we appreciate you joining us today. We're super glad that you're here. 8 a.m. on the West Coast. So hallelujah for you early risers out there. In fact, I'd love to know where you're logging in from. Benton Crane, talk to us about the formula behind comedy writing and how a sort of an unfunny person can follow a structure to create something that's humorous, or at least fun to watch.
Yeah. So first and foremost, when you're a small company who needs those sales, if the sales don't come in, then you don't stay in business. And if the sales don't come in, then your campaign never gets off the ground. Right. Meaning if you can spend $1 on advertising and get back $2 in revenue, then you can afford to drive millions and millions and millions of views to your campaign. But if you put in $1 and only 25 cents comes back out, then you're not going to be able to afford to drive those views. And so you're going to, even if your campaign is funny, you'll still end up with a campaign with very limited reach, and you won't get out there and get the recognition that you're looking for.
Yeah, yeah.
So the reason I share that is because it's so important to start with great sales. If you build your campaign with a great sales structure that convinces people why your product is a great solution to the problems that they're facing, you overcome their concerns, you build credibility, and you invite them to take action, to purchase your service, purchase your product, whatever it is. That's the backbone that you need to build on, and then you bring in the comedians to layer humor on top of that.
Okay, that's interesting. So talk to us then about that sales structure, right? How do we, because I think a lot of people watching us have done very few video ads in general, and I think that most people watching us right now, whether live or on the replay, you know, most of their videos are going to be kind of like this, hey, I'm Jim, and do you have a problem with X? I have a solution, and it's the handy-dandy Vitamita Vegemin, you know, type of thing. I think most of our ads are sort of looking like that, and we may not even have a structure for sales. Is there, like, how do we make sure that we have that sales structure in there? Is that something that we need a budget for, or is that something that we can be coached on?
That piece of it is much easier to be coached on. It's quite simple to say, okay, here's the structure of a great sale, and then you can follow that structure and stay within that constraint. Use that as the backbone, and then when you bring in the comedians to write on top of it,
right,
you just make sure that it fits into that same structure, but now you're bringing in the humor, the entertainment, the rhythm, and that's what keeps people watching. That's what keeps people engaged.
Yeah. Yeah. Rhythm is an interesting point. You know, how do we develop rhythm? Like, what does that mean? Expand on that.
Sure. So I think when you're talking about video, there's kind of these three core areas where you have to get the comedy and the rhythm right.
Okay.
And it starts with the writing. And then the second area is the filming. And then the third is the editing. So looking at each one of those, so talking about the writing, you need both great sales structure and great humor and rhythm. And then on the filming, you need great comedic direction and you need great comedic delivery. But you also need to make sure that you have clarity of message. So oftentimes, just like in the writing room, we'll have multiple writers, some focused on sales, some focused on humor. In the filming portion, we'll oftentimes have a director who's focused on the delivery. And then we'll have a second to that director who is focused on the clarity of messaging to make sure that we're looking at both levels there. And then the same thing happens in the editing room. We need both comedic timing so that the entertainment is right, but then we also need the clarity of message to make sure that the sale gets across clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever implement any type of like metronome or I know that we do that sort of here. Like I kind of, when we're writing things that should be upbeat or funnier, you know, I'll kind of like tap the table and like while I'm watching it and see if there's rhythm to it. How do you guys accomplish that rhythm? And is that flow something that you talk about beforehand? Like it should move at this pace, or it's a fast paced video, and is there dynamics to it? Does it start fast and then slow down? What's sort of the process behind the timing and the rhythm?
Yeah, that's a great question. You'll often see the commercials that really engage you and you forget about time when you're watching them. They do have a rhythm and that beat. And then that rhythm is a great opportunity to put in comedic elements where all of a sudden you can break rhythm and it catches people's attention, it catches them off guard, and you can use that for comedy.
Okay.
But one of the tools that we have a tool that we use to kind of help us test the rhythm.
Yeah.
And we call it a laugh graph. So as soon as we have a video cut, it's just a rough cut, we'll go out and show it to people who have never seen it or heard it before.
Right.
And we'll observe them as they're watching that. And we timestamp all of their reactions throughout the video. So if we get a smile, we'll timestamp that. If we get a chuckle, we'll timestamp that. If we get a full out laugh, we timestamp that. Or, at the top, you want like a full out belly laugh, right? Right. And what that allows us to do is we can then graph all of those reactions across the timeline of the video, and that allows us to see dead spots. And if a dead spot shows up, then we say, okay, we need to go look into this and see what's going on, because there's a good chance it's a lack of rhythm and we need to fix it.
Now, is that when those dead spots, isn't that like a good time to let the audience sort of ingest and process?
It can be.
Okay.
It can be.
So you want to
sometimes go ahead.
It's like peaks and valleys, right? Like you're explain that process to us. Like when do you know? Because it's almost like they're laughing too much. Now they're missing the sales message.
That's right. So sometimes you need those dead spots. We call it to let it breathe. Okay. Right? That's allowing the audience to really take in and internalize what you just said to them.
Right.
But we always have to investigate when we see those dead spots to make sure that it actually is a moment where the audience is internalizing, they're thinking about it, they're still engaged, versus a moment where, we've just lost their attention.
Right.
Because that's the danger of breaking the rhythm, is losing that attention.
Yeah. I certainly can see that, when I watch my own videos, and maybe some of you guys who are creating videos right now do the same thing. When I review my first cuts, I try to notice when I look away. Like when the moment I look away or the moment that I'm consciously like thinking about a sandwich, right? That's when I'm like, okay, we got to put something in there to capture that attention. And capturing attention is something that the Harmon brothers are known for. In fact, we've got a clip here. Let's just show a quick clip of Fiber Fix. Can we do that? Now, I have never used the Fiber Fix that I purchased. Bottom line, I saw this commercial and I'm like, I want that, right? You know, that scene from Napoleon Dynamite where she's got like the Tupperware. I'm like, I want that Fiber Fix. It was such a compelling commercial. I haven't even used it. It's one of these things that's like, I've got it in case I need it. But that's how effective this commercial was, and it really snapped me out. I remember I told a story in the beginning where I was sort of recovering from chemotherapy. It's a true story, and I began to watch all of these web videos and sort of developing my business model, all these different types of things. Can we show? Are we ready for that, Melissa? Yeah, let's show a quick clip of Fiber Fix because I want to talk about grabbing attention. Let's play that now.
When your house breaks, it costs you lots of time and money, like a newborn baby, except the house was planned for. And it can break anywhere. Your plumbing, chair, sprinkler, exhaust, all surprisingly fragile. Now, you could hire a handyman or a plumber for a simple fix, but that's just asking B. Franks here to set himself on fire. Because one pipe breaks and you pay consultation, ports, and labor.
Let's cut it there.
My mama didn't raise no stupid.
So, and this commercial is very, very fast paced, and that's one of a few different commercials. You've got another one where you're driving a dune buggy off of a cliff, and you show the strength, the tensile strength of the Fiber Fix product. Talk to us a little bit about the Harmon brothers' approach to grabbing attention.
Sure. So oftentimes when people try to be funny for the sake of being funny, they end up doing things that are surprising but not necessarily fitting. One that comes to mind for me. Several years ago, there was a company called Outpost.com. I actually have no idea what they did, but they made this commercial where there's a marching band out on the field, and they turn this ravenous pack of wolves loose, and the ravenous pack of wolves just goes out and just starts terrorizing the marching band, and it captures your attention. Like you watch it, what am I seeing? This is crazy.
Right.
But you remember the wolves, but you have no idea what Outpost.com is or was or what they did, right?
Right.
And so when people are just going for surprising, but they forget about fitting,
right,
they end up kind of missing the mark. And maybe their video, gets remembered somewhere on YouTube by people who are like, yeah, that was really funny. But it never turns into something that gets hundreds and hundreds of millions of views, because it's not an effective sales tool. For that, you have to have something that's surprising and fitting. So in the case of Fiber Fix, the commercial that the video that you just showed was a follow-up to the original that had the cars flying off the cliff. And so it's surprising. There's this car flying off the cliff. And but yet it was fitting because it was showing the strength of the product. So we were able to get both surprising and fitting.
Now, do you have to, we just showed a clip. We're showing a clip right now of that car tumbling down the hill. Obviously every small business has a budget to throw 2 cars off of a cliff, right? We all have that budget. So where do you get the cars? No, I'm kidding. What do you do when you don't have a budget for the cars? What does surprising mean? How do we implement surprise into our comedy writing for business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we always tell our clients to start with the sales. I keep going back to this. You're hearing it over and over again.
Yeah.
Start with the sales and get the sales flowing in the door, because that's what's going to provide you the budget to do something more exciting, more surprising, more out of the ordinary, more attention grabbing.
Yeah.
So oftentimes companies who don't have sales yet, they come to us and think, hey, Harmon Brothers, they're our silver bullet. They're going to be the solve for us. And we have to remind them, start with the sales, get the sales rolling in the door, and then we're going to go into the humor, the fun, the branding, because then there's an economic engine, a financial backbone to be able to provide that.
Right. And that's Go ahead.
That said, there are still economical ways to be surprising yet fitting, right? the fiber fix throwing cars off the cliff is probably our biggest budget hook or attention grabber, right? If you look at most of our other ads, the attention grabber is usually much more simple. Like with chapbooks, it's just a busy mom who's in a bathtub. And the surprising thing is that she stands up and she's fully clothed and she's actually timing her son who's holding his breath, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're watching that. We're watching that right now. Can we play the audio on this?
I'm kidding. Do you think I have time for a bath?
I'm fully clothed. I fell in the tub while I was timing my son holding his breath.
26 seconds.
Look at that. It's like
Now
two
go fetch Mom's
surprises.
hairdryer.
Two
Motherhood goes
surprises
by
right then and there. So that's a really great example. And, for some of the smaller business people out there, it could be as simple as putting a graphic up on the screen, right? Jon Stewart or news style, right? As you say something, you're showing something. It could be even a quick camera change, right? To just sort of make sure that audience member is still with you, and that I think affects the pace, right? And now, how do you guys you've got the surprise and the pace. So when you see these sort of valleys where nobody's responding, you're maybe losing attention. Is that an indicator that you should put in a change here, or is that an indicator you should put in a joke? How do you know the difference between the two?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and usually the way to tell the difference is by watching live reactions to it. Because
awesome.
If that valley coincides with somebody who all of a sudden they're checking their watch, they're looking away,
right?
They're seeing what their colleague is doing next to them, that's an indicator you've lost them.
Good.
Right? And you've got back. So that's an area where you've got to fix it. Versus somebody who is still engaged, they're watching the video, they're internalizing. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is to look at your video retention curve.
Okay.
So when you pull up your video retention curve, you expect it to be really nice and smooth, right? All videos have drop off. More people are watching at the beginning than they are at the end of the video.
Right.
But you expect to see a smooth curve that goes along as they drop off throughout the video. And if at any point in that curve, if you see a really sharp decline, then that's a really strong indicator that people are clicking away at a really high rate, and you have a problem right there, unless it coincides with the call to action, right?
Yeah.
If there's a call to action there, you expect people to click away.
Right.
That's right.
So that's really interesting. How many of you watching us live on YouTube and on Facebook right now, how many of you are watching your watch time retention and actually measuring that on Facebook or on YouTube? Where YouTube, the stats are much more, I think, effective. On Facebook, at least we got them, right? But it's a very different audience and it's a very different viewing habit on Facebook. I'd love to hear from you. And while we're hearing from you, we want to say a big shout out to David Lopez logging in. David Lopez, one of my favorite comedy writers of all time, logging in. He's here with us today. We've also got Richie Norton out there, Kristen Hills, and Scott Simpson logging in. Great to see you guys here today. Glad that you're logging in. If you've got questions for CEO Benton Crane, we'd love for you to ask him in the comment section. Now's your chance to become funny, to be the Michael Scott of your industry. I think a lot of people, kind of following these stats is sort of a hard thing to do. And it sounds like, Benton, what you're talking about is multiple drafts. You're talking about actually like creating a draft, getting it on YouTube per se, right? Or so I think that any YouTuber could do this. You get draft one on YouTube and you show it to what, 10 people? You look at those stats and then you edit and you do it again. Is that correct? And talk to us about that process and what that looks like on a macro level.
It actually starts much earlier than the edit. So it's actually right in the writing phase. You get a script written, go read that script to 5 people. Mm-hmm. And watch their reactions. If they're not laughing while it's in script form, then they're not going to laugh while it's in video form. Think of a stand-up comedian. Stand-up comedians write probably for every 1 minute of great content that ends up in their set, they've probably written 10 minutes of garbage content.
Yeah.
And the only way for them to find out which is to take that to open mic night and test it out in front of audiences. Find out, does this joke land? Does it hit? Is my timing right? And comedy and ads is the exact same way. So in the writing phase, you're testing it. when you're on set filming, if the crew isn't holding back laughter while a take is happening, and so the director yells cut and then everyone busts up laughing.
Right.
If that's not happening on set, then comedy is probably not going to show up in the final edit either, right? So
Right.
you should be seeing it at every phase, the writing, the filming, the editing, and it's just a matter of testing, find out what works, what doesn't, and then you roll with what works.
I'll tell you, it is so vulnerable. It is so vulnerable. I know for me, like even the intro that I did today, and we're sort of taking a very active. I'm enrolled in Harmon Brothers University, which is a great online course for learning some of these tips that Benton's talking about today. And so we're practicing our comedy constantly. I wouldn't say that it comes natural. I'm actually a rather serious person. When it comes to day-to-day conversation, it is so vulnerable to like read what you think is funny to a group of people and then sort of watch them kind of wince, like, that's good. Your dad's kind of like, that's good, son, and it's just not, and it's just maybe not hitting. But so important, I think, to get that out. Oftentimes, I'll write something that's like, I don't want anyone to hear it until we're live. But what you're saying is I should actually read it to our group, test it here, and tweak it before going live.
Exactly. That's the exact idea.
Oh, wow. That's very, I'll tell you, that's golden tips right there, folks. For those of you that want to try writing comedy, is you really have to be vulnerable with it. And I've seen comedians bomb. I've seen, it's very, very tough thing to do, but I applaud their boldness in that.
That's
hey,
right. If you've ever been, go ahead.
No, you, please.
If you've open mic night, which our crew loves to participate in open mic nights, you'll find that a large percentage of the jokes being told at those open mic nights just fall totally flat. And that's okay. That's the environment where you're supposed to have that happen.
Yeah. I remember I used to work in Irvine at a restaurant that I was terminated from. So I'm gonna withhold. Folks, there's like 25 restaurants that have terminated me. But let's just get real here. The Irvine Improv moved in. And I got to tell you, watching Janine Garofalo read from a yellow legal pad these jokes, and it's just like you said, like very few of them actually hit, but to watch that process develop, I think is really phenomenal. Where can we go online? Is there any app where we can go see comedians and watch comedians and sort of learn their structure for writing jokes? Benton Crane, any ideas?
So Dry Bar Comedy, phenomenal app. It's the world's largest library of family-friendly comedy, so they keep it pretty clean. And the Dry Bar comedians have been a great source of comedy writers for us.
That's great. Yeah, that's wonderful. And I'd love to talk about the comedy writing process. But first, I want to let you guys know about an event that's happening in August. And if you're serious about online video, if you've got a business and you want to take it to the next level, if you're a video creator and you want to take your creating to the next level, then there's one place that you have got to be, and that's Video Marketing World in Dallas, Texas. Video Marketing World is a 2-day video marketing event with a mission to provide business professionals and video creators with the latest and greatest information, training, and tools from a world-class presentation team featuring experts from YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, and LinkedIn. The speakers at this conference are incredible. Look at those faces. They're also beautiful people. Sean Cannell, Kristen Hills. I mean, come on. They're like Hunger Games beautiful, too. That's like the capital. I love it. And you guys have got to join us for this conference. This conference is 100% dedicated to helping businesses and business-minded people grow their following and earn revenue using online video. And you can get enrolled today when you go to videomarketing.world. Use the coupon code VMWOWIN on checkout to save $100. And Benton, you're actually going to be speaking at this conference. Is that correct? What will you be speaking on?
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. I'm going to be talking about the journey to go from a startup to a household brand name that everyone knows and loves and remembers and trusts. And so today we're talking about comedy, which is just one tool, one element of that pathway. But I'm going to be showing the whole entire journey to get from point A to point B. It'll be really fun.
Going to go into some of those analytics. I think that's very exciting because you don't really hear this a lot. You know, with a lot of times at video conferences, you're hearing sort of like SEO titles, right? Like use graphic elements, right? Or the algorithm. And don't get me wrong, these things light my fire. I'm a video guy. But if you're a business guy and you're just trying to get more real estate listings, right? Or if you've got a small retail shop and you want to sell more trinkets, or you want to sell more signs or get more people into your store, videomarketing.world is definitely a conference to put on your radar, not just this year, but every year. This is the third year we've done the conference. I MC the conference, and you always are going to walk away with some really solid nuggets coming in. Scott Simpson, the CEO of Video Marketing World, is in the comment section right now, laughing. We've got some questions from the audience, and I'd like to kind of ask some of those questions. The first is from my good friend Sam Goodwin, who runs a company called Hokoa, is saying, can you do a 20 to 30 second funny video that will actually drive sales? So is 20 to 30 seconds long enough, Benton, to get a result?
It's definitely perfect for a part of your funnel. It's going to be really hard to take someone through a complete sale in 20 to 30 seconds, but a 20 to 30 second video is a great top of funnel video that essentially is a filter that's showing you who is engaged and who is worth taking further down into your funnel. So we oftentimes use short videos at the top of the funnel, and if people watch, let's say 5 to 10 seconds of them, then we target them with additional material. And that's a very cost-effective way to do it.
Yeah, you know, what he's talking about here, folks, is what we call at the Video Marketing School a launch funnel. And if you've got a small business and you want to learn how to create a launch funnel where you're creating ads that get attention, and then those people that watched, now you're putting them into your funnel where they can convert to your list, and then you use email marketing to sort of engage them into a product sale. Type launch in the comment section right now. We'll reach out to you. We're going to be introducing a class on how to launch a video sales funnel and a launch funnel on Facebook and YouTube. Very, very interesting point. Now, when you talk about these 20, 30-second videos, you're really talking about like a retargeting strategy. Can you talk a little bit about what that means, like how you're using those top of the funnel videos to get that attention? How does that work?
Sure. So we always build everything around our hero videos, and our hero videos are what we're known for. They're usually 2 minutes to 5 minutes, somewhere in that range. They include the whole entire sale, meaning they can take somebody from I've never heard of you, all the way through to, hey, I trust you and I want this, click, I'm going to buy. And we build around that hero video. And the reason we call it a hero video is because your customer is always the hero in their own journey, and you're just there to guide them and provide them with tools to be successful in their journey. And so our hero videos always encompass that hero's journey. But then around that, you can surround it with smaller pieces of content, like was mentioned, a 5-second, 10-second, 20-second, 30-second cut of the video that's just designed to grab somebody's attention. And when you use these shortcuts, you can get people's attention really affordably on Facebook, YouTube, wherever you're doing paid media. You can get their attention at a really affordable rate. And if they engage, say they just watch 10 seconds, that's already, I think, something like 5 times more than the web average. The web average is like a 2-second view through. And so if someone watches 10 seconds, they're 5 times more engaged than the average. And so that's a really good person to then target with additional content and then additional content. And eventually, like Owen mentioned, you put them into your funnel and show them the whole entire 4-minute video to convert them into becoming a customer.
Yeah, that's right. Because, video marketing is direct response, right? But to get that direct response, you're sort of simmering the pot a little bit, right? Kristen Hills, Instapot, joke. Nailed it. So you're sort of simmering the stew a little bit, and then you're going to serve it. Remember this, guys, is it's not all about I made one video and then that video got tons of sales. I think that would you agree, Ben? And that's not necessarily, although that can happen, that's really not the way you want to build a business plan around your video sales.
I think the days of a single video strategy are long gone.
Okay.
You know, back in 2015, or was it 2014? I can't remember, when we launched Squatty Potty, you know, we were able to launch a single video and have it get, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of views it ended up with. But those days are past, and now you really need a portfolio approach where you have a hero video and then you build, you know, we call them sidekick videos all around the hero video to have a more holistic approach and to be able to reach people in different ways on different platforms.
Yeah, that's incredible, folks. So we've talked about some big tips here, right? First of all, the 3 phases of comedy writing is you're writing, you're filming, and you're editing, right? Know what phase that you're in. Second thing that we talked about is we talked about testing. And before you go live with this, and I think this is a big one, is really going over even conceptually with some people. Now, going over the video conceptually, that means going through the jokes and reading them as you envision them. It also means sort of painting the picture for your listeners and giving them a sense of what this concept is all about. Now, Tammy Fink is asking a great question. She is saying, well, I don't have a team, so how do I test my videos? This is a great question. Benton Crane, CEO of the Harmon brothers. What do you think?
So most of our testing actually happens outside of the team. It's usually us going home and testing on friends and family. So whether it's a script, we go read it to people and we're watching reactions. Once we have an edit, same thing. We go outside the company. We go find friends, family, whoever is willing to listen. We try to get a pretty big cross-section of different people, different ages, different demographics, and we go capture those reactions, and that's the test. And then even once we launch, that's when you get to start watching the analytics and the metrics.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you, that's the tough part for me. I mean, I don't mind analytics as a thing, right? Like, sure, go do them, right? It's like ballet, you know? I'm not gonna try and stop ballet, but it's like, go do your ballet thing, right? Analytics is kind of like, it's not the fun part of it. Now, maybe, Benton, you disagree because you're an analytics guy. I have to force myself to look at those analytics. But in those analytics, you talked about looking for those peaks and valleys and sort of looking at where people laugh and what jokes they laugh at. You know, a great video, a great movie I think that you guys could check out too to just take this further is, you know, Seinfeld did a movie about following all these comedians behind the scenes. I forget the name of that movie. It's like a Seinfeld documentary, but check that out, guys. I think you might really like that. So CJ Eason is watching us on Facebook Live, and he's asked the question, how do you segment your video content in order to cater to a different audience? And so I think what he's talking about is targeting different audiences. Do you, Benton Crane, recommend sort of like a scorched earth approach where you make a video that appeals to everybody? Or are you really focusing in on soccer moms age 35 to 55, et cetera, et cetera? And if so, how do you do that? What's your process behind that?
Great question. It's really interesting. We found that if you try to speak to everyone, you end up speaking to no one. But then on the flip side of that, if you speak to a very specific group, you end up reaching a much broader group than what you were actually intending to speak to. So I think Chatbooks is a great example of that, right? We were very, very specific in talking to moms, busy moms who are living a chaotic life, trying to keep up with the craziness of raising kids, maintaining a home. And we spoke very directly to moms, but the commercial ended up appealing to much, much broader audiences, both men and women, people with kids, people without kids. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, you know, I think we fear that if we target only soccer moms, right? It's like, well, but soccer dads and kids too, you know, but now what happens is you sort of muddy the message, you know, because I think you want people to watch a video and go, that's me, right?
Yeah, we found on FiberFix, even though we were speaking very directly to your, you know, quote unquote manly man, the guy who likes to fix it himself, women ended up being the we got more purchases from women than we did from men because women were seeing it and saying, oh, my husband needs this, and they were purchasing it for them.
Yeah. Wow. That's big. That's really interesting. I like that. Hey, if you've got questions for Benton Crane, ask us in the comment section right now. We've got some of these questions that were asked earlier on, and I'd love to ask some of these questions. Question number 5 here, Melissa. Okay, so the Jerry Seinfeld piece is called Comedian, right? Way to go, Owen. Nailed it. Check that out, guys. I think it's on Netflix. Here's a question we had earlier in the week. And I think this is big, especially for small business people, because the small business person is always trying to save money. We have to make those sales. And not only for business, but our spouses are coming after us, right? Like, hey, let's make this business work or you got to get a job. So the question is, do you have to spend money on ads, or can you reliably rely on organic Facebook shares, organic tweets out, and that sort of thing?
Great question. Let's talk about Squatty Potty, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, is probably our most quote unquote viral video that we've ever done.
Yeah.
And I think if we had left Squatty Potty just to the shares and the virality, I think we might have ended up with close to 10 million views.
Oh, wow.
And those 10 million views would probably have resulted in, a few tens of thousands of dollars in sales. But instead, it ended up with, I want to say, well over 200 million views and millions and millions and millions of dollars in sales. And the reason it was able to get to that type of volume and that type of reach is because we put a paid media strategy behind it, where we would spend $1 and $2 would come back in new revenue. It created this economic engine that Squatty Potty could just feed for months and months and months. Just throw money in, money comes back out.
Right.
And so for a small business owner, it's not about saving money. It's about finding ways to spend $1 to get $2.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
So a big part of that key then is your call to action, right? And getting, and we talk about this at the Video Marketing School. We talk about, business owners miss that call to action. Say, oh, call me today or visit our website. And it's this very generic sort of untrackable thing. How do we create a call to action, or what do you recommend a call to action should look like or sound like so that it's connected to trackable sales?
Great question. So to your point, the call to action is one of the levers that can move the needle more than anything else. So there's really, in video, there's 3 big levers. There's the intro, there's the offer, and there's the call to action.
Okay.
And so because all 3 of those are levers, we write and film variations for each.
Wow.
So the intro it'll be written in half a dozen different ways, and we film all, 4, 5, 6 of those so that we can test each intro and find out which gets the best view-through rate. Then we do the same thing with the call to action. We write it in 4, 5, 6 different ways, film all of those, and then we test each one to find out which gets the best click-through rate. And so sometimes It's less about just, hey, here's the perfect formula for a call to action. Instead, sometimes it's more about, hey, let's try several of these calls to action and let's find out which one works the best.
And so you're actually running, a final draft, but 3 versions, and then looking at those analytics?
So we do some pre-launch testing. The pre-launch testing usually includes titles, thumbnails, and intros.
Yeah.
And so to test that, we'll just release the first 10, maybe 15 seconds of the video, and we're watching the view-through rates on those first 10 to 15 seconds. And so that will tell us which intro to go out the door with.
Now, is that something is that something you do in your beta group, or is this with paid ad budget that's actually hitting?
Yeah, this is with paid ad budget.
Okay.
So we can actually get statistical significance and know this intro outperforms these other intros by X%.
Right.
And then we go live knowing what our best intro is, but to your point, we don't yet know what our best call to action is. So we go live with our best guess, and we put it out there. The press picks it up, people blog about it, influencers, tweet it and whatnot. And once all that kind of calms down, then we say, okay, now it's time to do call to action testing. And
Okay.
so then we'll release, 4 or 5 different versions of the same video, just having a different call to action, so we can actually watch the metrics and numbers to see which one is best.
That is phenomenal, folks. Oftentimes what I see, in my courses and classes and with the people that we work with is you're testing too much stuff, right? It's like, well, I'm going to test this and I'm going to test that. And you got to test one thing at a time. So notice what Benton just said there is test your view through, get them in the video first. Right? Get them in the video first. And then once you've got them in, now you can be testing the call to action. We got a great question from El Economista YouTuber who is asking, sorry, no, wrong person. We've got a question from someone else. Tammy Fink is saying, can you talk about an example of a call to action that was better than the other? Right? So in your testing, and maybe Poopery was a good example, because I saw Jeffrey Harmon's presentation on Poopery at VidSummit 1, guys. It would blow your mind how many variations they had. And he had it all charted out like Ancestry.com. It was just amazing organization in this. Remember, you've got to scale it down if you've got a smaller business. Benton, any examples of a call to action that worked better than another in any kind of circumstance?
I'm not having a clear example on the calls to action pop into my head, but I am having an example of an offer pop into my head. So
great.
Speaking of Poopery, we were testing several different offers, and I remember some of them were, an offer to get free shipping, an offer to get 20% off. We tested, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30% off, testing a bunch of different offers. And the offer that ended up winning out in the case of Poopery was a free plus shipping and handling sampler, where we're pitching a new product. This concept of before you go bathroom spray had never been heard of before, and so people were naturally skeptical. And so we sampler that was free plus shipping and handling, followed immediately by a one-time offer upsell.
Wow!
And so even though the free offer by itself wouldn't have been sustainable for Poopery as a business model, but because we followed it immediately with a really compelling one-time offer, then it ended up working both economically for the company, and it was a really compelling offer for the consumers because they saw the opportunity to try something that they didn't know or trust yet in a low-risk fashion.
Yeah. Wow. Folks, if you're in any way wanting to pursue the art and science of learning how to write comedy videos that engage your audience and convert them into a sale, then you have got to follow us to Video Marketing World in Dallas, Texas. It is a phenomenal event. Benton Crane will be teaching there, and he's going to be showing you the process of going from startup, which even for you small businesses that have been in business for 10 years, but it's been 10 years of like, I hope we're in business next year, then let's put you in that category. How do you go from a place where you're not scaled and go to a place where you can scale? That's the process Benton Crane's going to be walking into at Video Marketing World, and you can get your tickets right now at videomarketing.world. Benton, we're already 10 minutes over time. I appreciate you sticking around and hanging out with our audience. Before we go, let me ask you this one last question. We're a small business audience. Most of us are doing somewhere probably under $3 million. What would your best advice be for us? Like we don't have any videos. Maybe we've done a couple videos, tried some things like, hey, it's me, try my thing. What would you say is like, what should we do next in order to start making videos that actually generate sales?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are putting together what we're calling a 10-day challenge to just write a script that sells. And the reason for that is because it doesn't matter what stage your business is in, you need those sales coming in the door. And if those sales are coming in the door, then you have so much more flexibility to be able to experiment with comedy, humor, branding, brand character, brand world, all of these things that eventually make you memorable. They make people trust you. They make people love you. But first, you've got to get those sales in the door. And so I would say I wish that I had it ready today so that I could just tell you where to go to get that 10-day challenge. But it's something that we're looking to launch in the next month or 6 weeks.
Okay.
And I think that would be fantastically helpful.
I love that. Guys, write video in the comment section now, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, live or on the replay. And we want to say what's up to Jason Rodrigue watching us live on the replay. No, that can't be right. Type video in the comment section right now, and when the 10-day challenge details come out, we'll send them to you. Okay, so I'll respond to you guys in the comment section. I'll get your email, and then when the 10-day challenge comes out, we'll get it to you. I absolutely love this because I'll tell you, I joined Harmon Brothers University. I want to be funnier. And I want to engage people. I want to bring laughter because when I was sick with chemo and healing from my chemo, it was laughter that really got me through that process and helped me to enjoy that downtime. So much of your audience, guys, is bored. They're at work. They're in the car. They're sitting at a soccer match, you know, around people they don't know. Give them something to laugh at. Give them something that brings them joy, right? Like laughter, little fairies dancing around your head. Right? That's what the gift that your business can bring the world. And learning how to do that effectively can really, really change the game for you. I know that challenges really help me too, that community, you know, working in community. Benton, thanks so much for joining us, guys. Write video in the comment section now if you would like to be alerted of the 10-day challenge that the Harmon Brothers will be hosting when it comes out. Benton, how do we stay in touch with you? How do we follow the work of the Harmon Brothers and keep this learning process going?
So follow me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. So just Benton Crane, and love to keep in touch with you guys. It's been a real pleasure to be here.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy your beautiful weather in Provo. And by the way, try the Thai place right across from VidAngel Studios. It's delightful. It's delightful.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
See, you know, he knows it. Benton Crane, Air 5. He's a man of the people, folks. Thanks so much for joining us today. I can't wait to see you at videomarketing.world. Josh Melton's going to be there. We've got, who else is going to be there? We have Dan Norton is going to be there. We've got just all sorts of interest. It's a phenomenal event, guys. I hope that you will join us. Can we put that graphic up on screen one more time? Go to videomarketing.world and join us for this absolutely incredible conference. Save $100 off your ticket with the code you see on your screen right now. I'm Owen Video, founder of the Video Marketing School, where business owners like you learn the art and science of online video marketing, and I'll see you next time.